Morning all. How we doing? All good? Morning Mark. Just watching gold this morning. Morning Michael. Just seeing we've got a big gap up on gold. And it looks like it's filling at the moment. So there's still room on that for a fill. We've got about 60 pips to the downside. Obviously I don't trade gold, but it has gapped. So quite a big gap as well on that. Got suspended at 7 last night and opened at 1. So yeah, interesting gap on that. Obviously it all kicked off yesterday with Russia. Morning Rahat. So we would expect things like gold and oil and gas to start popping basically today, depending on obviously what happens with the rest of the day. We've got sanctions being discussed to be implemented today in the UK and across Europe. Not that that'll make any difference to Russia. They control all the oil and the gas, so you know, there's not many sanctions we can put on them that really affect them anything more than they will affect us. So yeah, we'll see what happens today. Morning, Aseni, Mohammed. So yeah, it's going to be a busy day, I think, today, and busy week this week. So I'm erring on the side of caution again this week. Not going to enter any position trading. I'm going to do some scalping still, and try and get some money out of these indices. So we'll start off this morning, I think. With the news, what we've got coming up. So 9 o'clock this morning, we got business climate, which doesn't tend to really do anything. I don't think any of this is going to make any difference to anything at the moment. It's the market's going to do what it's going to do based on what happens with sanctions and invasion, etc. So yeah, euro, obviously we've got that at 9 o'clock, and then apart from that, we've got PMIs this afternoon for the US dollar. Which typically will move the market. Not generally a massive one, but we do tend to get some decent movement off of those. And then tomorrow morning, we've got all the rates in New Zealand. So we get some decent movement off of those tomorrow morning as well. I would expect Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar to come down tomorrow, and a bit of a New Zealand dollar push off the back of that news. So, what's it? Oh, sorry, bear with me one sec. Yeah, so interesting day today. Obviously, news overnight hasn't been a lot because Russia's been asleep. Nice picture of Mr. Putin there. Obviously, there's been a fair amount of news last night. I was kind of watching what was going on with the news all night, just keeping an eye on Forex Factory. So basically, Putin has agreed to back the independent states in the Ukraine and obviously moved in. So he's obviously gone in on a peacekeeping mission. But obviously, it's just basically stage 1 of the invasion undercover. So today, basically, we just need to see what happens with sanctions. I'm really not sure what sort of effect it's going to have on the markets in general. Apart from oil and gas, we would expect those to go up, and usually gold. There's a lot of talk of US dollar dropping off of the back of this as well. Obviously, which would indicate a spike on gold. US dollar had a gap up overnight, and again, that looks like it's coming down to do a fill. These gaps will either... Where's my drawing tools gone again? These gaps will either, I mean, typically the gaps will fill all the way back down to where they closed, typically. But sometimes they will fill to daily highs, and we're getting stuck at the daily highs at the moment, obviously. So we'll see what happens with this, but we would expect some more downside US dollar. Indices this morning have gone off pretty sharpish. Obviously, we had a massive movement down yesterday across the board on the indices. The DAX was absolutely destroyed. I'm getting a bit destroyed actually this morning trying to short the DAX. It's coming down now. But yeah, we had a big move. Biggest day on the DAX for a long time. And we've broken those lows. I put a post in the Telegram group on this yesterday. So we had these really nice lows and this kind of zone, if you like, there. Which was a really nice sort of area that it just slammed through so hard. At the moment, we are pulling back, but obviously expectation is it's a pullback drop today. So again, looking for shorts. I've been trying to short it this morning, and I've got stuffed on it this morning. So roughly about... am I in the right account here? No, that's my exit account, of course it is. Roughly about 6% down this morning, trying to short this thing. But I'm going to give it a little bit of room to wiggle. I've got a couple of positions on still. But today, the play is really... Obviously, this is the big move yesterday. So a retracement, it looks like it wants to retrace into yesterday's move, which would make sense, and then drop out of there. So that low and where we sort of accumulated is really where I would look to go. That's a 50% retracement, obviously, if you stick a fib on it. So kind of got to look at where we've gone and where we're likely to go back to today. With the indices, and this will give us a clue as to what will happen with the US dollar. At the moment, obviously, we've got the US dollar coming down, which is pushing the indices up this morning. But if it's difficult to tell where how far it's going to go today, I can't see it really going particularly far. So I'm trying to get some shorts in, and hoping that we're going to get another big down day today. So bit of an accumulation, a bit of a stuck down there. Where it's going, the DAX especially, difficult to tell. If you look at the other indices, obviously the Dow, we haven't quite put in all-time sort of, I won't say all-time lows, recent lows. We've got to get down to 33, basically, is the low on the Dow. The S&P, we still haven't quite cracked that low as well. That is down at 42.12. That's a nice gap fill just being completed on the S&P at the moment. And the NAS, I've got miles to go. Oh no, sorry, we've just broken that. Today we've gapped down and broken it. So yeah, we didn't quite get to it yesterday, the low. And this morning we've gapped down and basically cracked that low. So now that low is cracked, obviously, market structure is confirmed, which is where we were expecting it to go to. So from here, who knows? We could get a pullback and drop. This thing could just go straight out the gates today. Very, very difficult. So I'm short bias on the indices at the moment, and will remain short bias on them. Morning, Harry. Morning, Peter. Peter. I'm going to say that in English, Peter. So yeah, so looking for shorts on that. The forecasts, if invasion does start, which it's debatable whether it has or not, the forecasts on the indices are somewhere between a 8 to 12% drop. If de-escalation starts, somewhere between an 8 to 10% increase across the indices. So looking at where we are now, let's look at the S&P. We're at what, sort of 42.60. Difficult to tell where we're going to go on that, but it could go absolutely crazy down. But initially, I'd be looking for sort of moves down to obvious support levels. With trouble with the S&P is and the NAS and all the indices really is there's lots and lots and lots of potential support and resistance areas that you can look at and think, right, this is where potentially we're headed. But obviously with resistance, you're looking at peaks, ideally. So any of these peaks could be where we're heading to. Obviously, that is where we're headed to there, that one there. Assuming that we're going to completely break this on the S&P, this is really where I would look to be going, which is 39.50. So basically 4,000 on the S&P. If it pushes, we're looking for a push back up into 24.72. So it's just weird. It's all the timing of everything at the moment is completely crazy. Morning, Neo. Obviously, we've got this doom rally, bear market, which was forecast to start and a drop down to crazy levels we talked about, and now we've got Russia being thrown into the mix. So you've got so many catalysts at the minute potentially affecting what is going on in the markets. It's very, very difficult to tell which way anything is going to go, and obviously that's going to have a knock-on effect on the Forex markets as well, as currencies are valued and devalued. So difficult times. So long term, I wouldn't pay too much attention at the moment to the COT bias from a Forex perspective, because obviously we don't know how the market is going to reposition. The problem with COT, which is always a problem and something you really can't avoid, is that you're always working a week or so behind what these positions are. So these are reported every Tuesday, and then we get them told to us on a Friday. So the figures that we see are from last Tuesday and from the Tuesday before, and the Tuesday's positioning is kind of what happened the week before. So it's you're always a little bit delayed, and at the moment it's very difficult to obviously gauge what sort of impact it's going to have on the market. So for me today, I shall be basically glued to this. And just watching for what is going to be announcements from the UK, from Europe, and potentially from the US a bit later on, as to what sort of sanctions they're going to impose on Russia, and obviously what Russia does now it's got its peacekeeping forces in the Ukraine. So just be very, 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 very careful. For me at the moment, short term, I'm getting stopped out of everything at the minute. Markets are actually rallying really hard this morning, so I'm going to wait for some bearish price action. Look for areas of support and resistance. I've been stopped out loads on this morning. Up here potentially, and then obviously these levels for 50% retracement on the DAX especially. So that's my plan today, is just basically to play short-term trades, obviously short. Banked 1,500 yesterday on futures. Really good day. That was basically just shorting the S&P. So again, today I will probably do some futures this afternoon, but I'm going to wait until we get some decent levels hit on this. It's very difficult to tell where we're going to head to. We've done the gap fill now, which is nice. I didn't spot this morning. I should have really traded this morning, but I didn't see it. Hence me being shorting the DAX. So looking at sort of 43.12 on the S&P. So potentially looking for shorts sort of up around those sorts of levels, and then see what price action we get up there, and look for some short opportunities. But we'll see what happens today. It's going to be an interesting day, to say the least. So switching over to charts at the moment, obviously ADRs, we've got a couple. Pound New Zealand. That's hit to the downside. What is this? Is this the pound this morning? Yeah, weak pound. Very weak pound at the minute. Apart from the Swiss franc. Swiss franc is even weaker. So yeah, weak pound. So pound New Zealand's hit to the downside. New Zealand dollar Swiss has also hit. That's another one of those dodgy New Zealand candles this morning. Wasn't any news out of New Zealand this morning, was there? No. I'm just scanning for news. Australia's central bank to rejig market liquidity operations. Royal Bank of New Zealand to rake heights by a quarter. We know about that. Yeah. Just one of those things. The New Zealand dollar is does this all the time. We get these stupid candles put in Asia with light liquidity. It's really annoying because it throws off the ADRs. But we're 125, just about to tap 125 ADR. So if you would even to take it from there, you're looking at 50 pips. You're almost at ADR on the New Zealand dollar Swiss. So at the moment, we've got a really weak Swiss franc. So everything is pushing very, very hard against the Swissy. This is money coming out of the Swiss franc, which is interesting because normally it flows into it in times of crisis. So for me, I would say this is probably just a pullback. So any of these ADRs you see against the Swiss franc today, probably pretty good shorts to take, I would say. Morning, Andy. Fairly nice ADR set up on New Zealand dollar Swiss and one nice one on the pound New Zealand. Obviously, the pound is a long, the New Zealand is a long. So this is kind of a neutral at the moment. But we are long bias overall. The pound longer, higher strength than the New Zealand dollar. So we'll be looking for long opportunities. So we've just taken out these lows from yesterday. We're at a fairly decent support here. So decent support resistance level, which we are at right now. So potentially this could be a nice long opportunity as well. We've hit ADR today. Just taking out yesterday's low. So look for price action, moves up, M5, look for a reversal alert. If you get the reversal alert, nice looking long opportunity on the pound New Zealand. Euro Swiss has hit a weekly range already. So big, strong move on the Euro Swiss. Obviously, that's that move down yesterday, which is obviously Euro getting devalued. The Swiss francs had a massive weak run this morning in the London Open. I'm not quite sure why there's so much coming out of the Swissy, but I would look for short opportunities on that. So ADR high, look for short Euro Swiss. We know about the monthlies because we've already covered those. We're at the end of the month. So a few opportunities there this morning on those. 4 hours and hourlies. So I'll cover the hourlies first because there's a lot of 4 hourlies. Euro Swiss, which we're on already. So big extensions to the downside. Obviously, that's all played out really in one candle. So if you were getting into that as a long, you're very brave anyway. But if you were getting into it as a long, you're out of it probably now. Euro New Zealand, obviously ADR hit to the downside. Always looking for short opportunities on the euro. So not particularly interested in that one. And the pound Swiss. So pound Swiss is a nice long opportunity. Again, this is kind of already played out this morning. But again, you've got to be very, very careful with these. This is just tapped straight up into resistance and come off of it, basically. So just be very careful. We've got this propulsion gap here at resistance, which is that accumulation area there. And it's tapped straight into it and rejected. So I think if it goes ahead, more invasion, we're going to find money flying into the Swiss franc. So it's a dodgy one to long at the moment, but the pound is a long. You see, this is the problem. You've got cot bias long on this. Pound's doing pretty well, but at the moment you can flip a coin as to whether or not this thing's going to go up or down at the minute, and it's all going to be based on what happens in Russia. So just be very, very careful with any trades you're taking. I hate to say the word stop loss, but you really need to be using it at the minute, because if you get into positions that are going to go against you, they could go against you for days or weeks or even months, depending on what happens in Europe. So just be a little careful. What I would say is kind of treat every trade as if it's an aggressive drawdown position at the moment. So go in line with the bias. And obviously try and get into positions if you want to, but obviously I would be playing much, much shorter term at the moment. Makuchaku, good name. Can I check Singapore yen? No, I can't. Don't trade that. Don't trade exotics. Sorry. 125 on New Zealand dollar Swiss. Still pushing up. So still got a very, very, very weak Swiss franc. Very weak. So good mean reversion opportunity on this. If this keeps pushing higher and higher and higher, Good mean reversion opportunities on this one. But yeah, Singapore dollar versus the yen. Singapore is pegged, so you shouldn't be trading it. And I would go short. Money's going to fly into the yen in all likelihood. Right, 4 hours. So 4 hour charts, there's lots of opportunities. CAD Swiss. Oops, get on the 4 hour. It's already played out. So if you've got into this one, obviously nice support area down here, which I had drawn in already. We've bounced out of there very, very nicely, and it's starting to play out. So this one you would have entered this morning already. Just got into it, basically. Bit of a big candle for a reversal like that, but yeah, already in that one. CAD Swiss long. So if you're in that one, well done. That was really, really, very nicely extended. Just be aware of this level here, that accumulation. Potentially, if we are going to continue to the downside, i.e. Swiss franc powering up based on money flying into safe haven areas, short. It's difficult to tell actually whether the Swissy will be too much of a safe haven, considering it's in the area where we might be having some conflict. So tricky one that, again, with the Swissy. But it's very, very weak, obviously, this morning. So we are just tapping up as well into potential resistance there. So be aware of that one. Pound CAD. Have a quick look at Pound CAD. Pound CAD's rolling over fairly nicely. That's a long at the moment. We're just down at potential support. We've got that area there as well. So this area is very strong support. So it's either going to bounce potentially from there or from there. CAD news. I think we've got oil coming up. When's oil? Tomorrow is Wednesdays, isn't it? Yeah, so we got oil tomorrow. Thursday. So we got oil on Thursday. There's no other CAD news this week at all. So yeah, pound. Ordinary, I would be long in the pound. So pulling back to support, and then looking for long opportunities. Obviously, if you wanted to take it as a counter trend, shorts, you would have already been in that, and you'd have been in it from yesterday. Oops. There was your reversal alert yesterday, and your 3/4 of an ADR in profit. Just tapping into this potential accumulation propulsion candle there on M15. So anywhere around here could be support. If not, I would say we're coming down to sort of 150 ADR. Potentially look for a bounce down there. There you go. Pound CAD done. CAD yen. This one's just got extended. Again, you've missed it. If you got into it, well done. It's already played out, sort of 20 odd pips, not much at the moment. Nice market structure. I'm a bit wary about taking anything long about CAD. On the yen. I'd much rather be shorting everything against the yen, because it's likely that we might get some money coming in onto that. So I'm just going to take a quick short on my other machine. Excuse me. CAD yen. So yeah, very nicely extended on the 4 hour. We got these lovely rejection wicks to the downside. So you would have, as I say, you would have got in that one already. There, came back, nice retest, and we're pushing up very nicely at the moment this morning. Not very extended. I wouldn't have got into that one anyway, because I'd prefer it to be sort of 70, 75 plus. Morning, Simeon. Opinions on gold? Yeah, I'll have a look at gold in a minute. Euro odd. Again, all these euros, I'm going to kind of skim over all these euros at once. They are very, very, very extended, obviously. You can see we're down in the 20s on a lot of these. Potentially, that level doesn't light up. Potentially, with what's going on at the minute, it could. So I'm always short the euro. So it's really hard for me to take a long position down here. Every time we are getting any kind of extension on here, we're getting embedded. a lot of the time. The pullbacks are absolutely tiny. Again, we've got sanctions being announced today, so that could have an impact on everything. But all of these that are extended, if you want to take them, I would probably look to get in on M5 and look to get out fast. So you had a reversal alert there, and kind of play them as scalps, really. If you're getting on M15, the difficulty with getting on M15 at the moment is the likelihood is you won't get enough movement to actually make a decent profit, because it's just putting in, like, the market structure is just down all the time. So, it's coming down, and there's no real reason, I don't think, why any of these euros should really go up at the moment. So all of these, Euro odd, Euro Swiss, obviously they're all playing out at the moment, Euro pound, Euro yen, and Euro New Zealand. So they're all having a nice little push at the moment, all massively extended. But just look at the pullbacks potentially that you're going to get on them. They're tiny. I'd much rather be massively extended on the euro and in a short position on it, which is what I did there, than trying to help this thing get a leg up at the moment. I can't see any reason why it should do, especially with what's going on at the moment. So just be careful with these. If you're going to take them long and scalp them. Look for something that's extended on the hourly, the 4 hourly, M15, jump in on M5, so you know that you're really extended across all time frames. We've had a really strong push. The push has been recent. Any sign of strength, you are likely to get a bit of a pullback. But just be very, very careful with the scaling in on these. If you're going to get into positions on them, make sure you're an ADR apart, because otherwise you're likely to get hurt on them, I think. So be careful, Euro New Zealand. All the euros. Pound Swiss, that one's obviously started to play out as well. 4 hour, really nicely extended. We got extended back there, which was yesterday. So alerts yesterday, you would have got one in New York yesterday. And obviously you've just got one now. So, nice moves potentially to the upside, but I'm long the pound, but the Swissy I just don't know about at the minute. Again, very difficult to know what's going to happen with them. So, nice reversal alert on that one. Scalp, look for targets that we're likely to head for. So support resistance levels, look for gaps potentially to get filled, and just get in and get out. So nice looking opportunity there on the pound Swiss. And US dollar Swiss. Again, same thing. US dollar's pushing at the moment. We've done it. We've actually done it. So I've been talking about this for the last sort of few days. So this, where are we? Oh, sorry, this US dollar Swiss. I was looking at the Dixie. Hang on. Sorry, one sec. No. No, we didn't quite do it, did we? So I was getting my US dollar Swiss and my Dixie confused. So this one's just done a nice stop hunt, basically, which is why I kind of saw this wick down here, and I was like, did we stop hunt that level I was looking for? But it was a different pair. A different instrument. So we're just taking out these lows. US dollar, we are expecting to power up. We were expecting to power up. Now I'm really not sure exactly what's going to happen with the US dollar, but I would expect it still to get some strength. Now, there are people obviously that are also forecasting US dollar weakness off the back of what's going on in Russia as well. So there's a lot of mixed opinions out there about what is going to happen. So at the moment, with the US dollar Swiss, you're probably fairly safe trading US dollar Swiss, because what you will find is that the money will get pumped into US dollar and pumped into the Swiss franc and extracted just as quick. So you'll find that you'll get really decent market movement. So US dollar Swiss is probably one of the safer pairs to trade at the moment because you're going to find cash getting injected in and out quite a lot. Same as US dollar yen. So these are both extended at the moment on the 4 hour. The US dollar yen even further. So with this one, obviously we've had a big hammer put in, a couple of big hammers put in back to back, and now we're sort of pushing up. So your entry on that one would have been there. Haven't really moved far yet. We've done sort of 16 pips. But again, US dollar and the yen will find they get a lot of money moving through them when we have periods of uncertainty. So the US dollar Swiss and the US dollar yen, both good looking long opportunities on the 4 hour. Very, very nicely extended. So these would both be good longs that I'd be sort of normally happy to take. But at the moment, obviously, just not sure as to which way anything's going to go. And we're going to see some big movements, I think, coming over the next sort of 24 hours. So news-wise on the US dollar, we haven't got anything. We got PMI, obviously, this afternoon at 2:45, just after the market opens. And then we are pretty free until Thursday, where we've got the GDP figures, and then we've got PCE on Friday. So there's a lot of news catalysts for the US dollar this week as well. So we could find a lot of shifts up and down, up and down. So really anything that gets extended on the US dollar, I think you're safe probably at the moment to long it. But like everything at the minute, just keep a very, very close eye on levels of support and resistance. So look at your 5-minute charts. Draw in areas that look obvious to aim for. Yeah. So an obvious support turned resistance. Use your head. If you're long on it, get out there because quite possibly it's just going to collapse from there. So just make sure anything you're getting into, I would just be looking for really small targets, really small gains, and just try and bank often. Really all you can do at the minute. Pound yen. So pound yen basically looking for longs at the moment, technically. But again, with the yen, if we do get strength coming into the yen and money sort of flying out of the stock market and flying into safe havens, that's potentially where it's going to go. Nice long wicks on the 24, so nice 24 bounce on that one at the moment as a long. But again, you know, Boris is potentially going to come out and talk about sanctions. Whether that's going to have a positive or negative impact on the pound, couldn't tell you. So you might find this just suddenly spikes or collapses. Beautiful M pattern, W going in at the moment though, out of this gap. But you see, we're really range bound. You know, things like this at the moment, you can, because there's so much uncertainty, we're getting these big solid moves and they're all getting faded. Big move, faded, big move, faded, big move, faded. You know, we're just getting a lot of market movement up and down, which suits small time frame trading very, very, very well. Support, resistance, range bound, you know, that's kind of the plays you want to be looking for rather than long term. The RSI plays a lot less into range bound trading. So we're looking for mean reversion after strong moves where we get profit takes. At the moment, we're just getting market accumulation. So smaller time frames are much better. So if you get big strong moves on M15 like there, yeah, you want to be jumping in on lower time frames. Yeah, jump in on lower time frames and just scout back up. It's the best sort of thing to do at the moment. Yeah. Gold. Have a quick look at gold. I've got to disappear this morning because I've got bits and pieces to do around the house. So gold has just filled its gap nicely. Wish I'd have taken that one this morning and not tried to play the DAX, but I did. So we just got the gap fill. So yeah, long. I mean, again, this is based on obviously whatever happens to the US dollar is going to in fact impact gold as a CFD. But we would expect gold to inflate along with oil and gas in times of crisis. People tend to buy up tangible items, and obviously the cost of gas and oil is going to go up if there is pipelines getting restricted and sanctions being put in place. So I've been looking for longs on this. This is obviously a perfect opportunity for a long. We've just done a gap fill, and obviously, as you can see, we've had a decent move up on gold. That level we've just tapped into is these highs. So again, this is kind of the big range that we're in at the moment, which we're up at the top of. So potentially we could have a deeper pullback, but with what's going on at the minute, I'd be more inclined to say shallow pullbacks and pushes. Look for targets at highs. Yeah, I don't trade gold myself. I'm thinking about getting into it again, but on a short term sort of scalpy type move rather than position trading. But yeah, so gold, looking for long opportunities on that. And that's a lovely gap fill that's just been completed. So this could well be where we're going to go from today. So, easy. You're not going to get any reverse alerts on this because there's been a gap. But that's the support area. M5 is just starting to go bullish. M15 looking a bit bullish. Just tight stops. If it's going to play out, you're going to get a very, very nice big reward on it. If it doesn't play out, fine. Look at the next levels. Yesterday's low, which will be below ADR. Look for long opportunities from there. Failing that, look for accumulations and propulsion gaps. So anytime you see a gap, there's your long there. And just wait for reversal alerts to show signs of strength coming through. Okay, all makes sense. Bit of a confusing time at the minute. This is a kind of I still think that the best position at the moment is flat for any long-term swing positions, position trading. I think at the moment, because we don't know what is going to happen, it's very difficult to say whether things are going to move historically as we've seen them before. So you just have to kind of go with short-term movement. And we've got so much volatility in the market at the minute. You can kind of pick almost any instrument. And the likelihood is you're going to be able to get in to a position and get out of it fairly quickly. Because we're getting some massive movement that we don't normally see. So, with the indices especially, we've moved into a bear market on all of these indices, which we haven't had for such a long time. And the movement is just so volatile, and we're getting such big daily ranges being put in. It's a case of if you see price pushing up dramatically, the chances are you're going to get some kind of really decent pullback on it. So, if we were to get back up to that wick today, you could get a short, and the short could easily come all the way down there. So there's a lot of big money to be made if you can hold it. But the most important thing at the moment is picking a directional bias, and it is a bit of a coin flip at the moment, and that's the difficult part. So we don't know which way it's going to go, because it all depends on what happens with the news. So I'm just going to quickly see if there's anything come out this morning. Russia's energy minister plans to continue exporting natural gas without disruption. Yeah, so stock's up again, basically, at the moment until the next thing comes out, and then it potentially stock's down again. So, yeah, difficult. Okay, so I've got to leave it there this morning. Sorry, it's a bit of a short one. I'll be back at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Plan this morning is to keep an eye on these indices, and I'm looking for short opportunities. So I'm looking for bearish price action on the indices. And I'll be looking for opportunities to get into shorts. We've just done the gap fill on the S&P. Worth a shot on a short there, potentially. So this could be it. Look at this. This is the sorts of moves that we're going to potentially see. Literally down and not looking back, which is what we saw yesterday on everything. And I shorted them in the morning and just didn't hold them. So I'm trying to get into positions and hold them at the moment, because I think there's a lot of money to be made in one direction And at the moment, it looks like down. But obviously, if we do get a continuation push up, then just look for some bearish price action. Whatever time frames you're trading, look for bearish price action. Drop down, look for reverse alerts on lower time frames. And use decent risk reward, but the rewards at the moment, especially on indices, can be absolutely huge. So try and hold, really. Best thing to do is if you're getting into sort of an M5, for example, if you get into an M5 reversal alert here, don't monitor it on M5, flick up, monitor it on a higher time frame, because you're going to find you're going to get scared out a lot less on higher time frames by bullish price action. If you're monitoring on M5, every time you see a reverse alert in the opposite direction, or you see some kind of bullish engulfing going in after you've just got into a short, you get scared out of the market. Flicking up to a higher time frame means you get less scared because you're seeing less price action going against you. So, but keep it short term, I think, at the minute, and try and ride some of these massive waves. All right. So if anybody's got anything else, come in the Telegram group. I will be in there today, and I'll be back at 2:00 this afternoon. We'll have a look through what's happened today. News-wise, actually today we haven't got anything pre-market, so we'll be on for the PMI figures after New York Open. Apart from that, keep an eye on stuff, trade safe, and I will be back at 2:00, and we'll have a look at everything then. All right, have a good morning, and I'll see you then.